In this video, I'm going to show you how you can configure Cisco APIC in an ACI simulator. What I am doing here, I'm not going to explain how you can download ACI simulator. This is very easy. You can just go to Cisco website and download it. What I am using is version 5.2 of ACI simulator, but version 6 is out as well. And you can download that and concatenate the files into one big OVA file. This is going to be something around 80 something gigabytes, of course. And then you can import that OVA file into VMware ESX, VMware Workstation, even VirtualBox. And then from now on, we can continue. You can see that I have set something like 32 gigabytes of memory to this and 12 processor cores. And the hard disk, you can choose something around 200 gigabytes, but you can see that this is the actual hard disk size. So it shows you 127, which means that it is a little bit bigger than the file size that it has been imported. The important part is the network adapters that I have here. Before changing the network adapters, I'm going to show you what I have here. I'm going to click on Edit and go to Virtual Network Editor. By opening this, you can see that I have two different networks. One of them is a NAT network, one of them is a host-only network. I'm going to use host-only network to connect to out-of-band management IP address that I'm going to set on ACI simulator. And you can see that this has a subnet ID of 192.168.200.0. You can change this, of course, to whatever subnet IP that you wish to have. You can click on Change Setting here, then this is going to be editable. Then you can choose the network adapter that you wish to change the IP address setting for that and change it down here. Also, there is a DHCP setting that you can click on that. These are the range of addresses that are going to be, assigned to different hosts in this network. Whatever you do, click Apply so that you make sure that every changes that you have made is going to be preserved for you. I already have done this, so I'm not going to do that. The next thing is you need to make sure that this network adapter is the network adapter that you wish to have. You can just click on Edit Virtual Machine Settings. You can go to VM and click on Settings, or you can just click on the network adapter here. It doesn't really matter which one. When you do that, this window is going to open for you. You just click on Network Adapter, and then this is the first one. I'm going to change it to host only. So that is going to be the range of IP address which I am going to assign to this Cisco APIC here. So I click on OK. Now this is a virtual environment, but in real environment, you have a cable which is connected to one of the ports of a switch, and that port is going to be in management VLAN, the VLAN that you have configured as management. Let's say, for example, VLAN 999. And that VLAN is attached to a desktop computer or something which is going to have a terminal on that or web browser on that. Then using that, you can easily connect to management interface of APIC, and that is going to be your out-of-band management network. Behind the APIC, there are two ports. One of them is SIMC port, one of them is going to be the OOB port. You are going to use OOB port, of course. And there are two more network adapters behind the APIC that you are going to connect them to the leaves, of course. But right now, I assume that you have connected the console port to the management, the management network, as a matter of fact. So let's go and see what we are going to have here. So by doing this, I'm going to start the virtual machine here. That is going to show you the exact configuration that an APIC is going to have. Right now, you can see that it says this is version 5.2.5, but like I said, version 6 is out. You can use that one. Then it is going to take a few seconds before it starts asking you some questions. And before you do that, you need to make sure that some of the configurations you have decided about. So the first one is going to be OOB interface. So for OOB, I have used 192.168.200 network, and let's say that I'm going to assign this 111 in the end, and that's going to be a 24-bit. You can have an in-band management as well. For in-band management, of course, you are going to use the range of IP addresses that are going to be assigned to tunnel endpoints. So for tunnel endpoint, you can say, for example, the range of 10.0.0.0 slash, let's say 16, for example, is going to be used. This means that we are going to have something like 65,000 something tunnel endpoints here, which is more than enough. So these are the important IP addresses that you need to, devise before going forward. And the last thing that you're going to have is the multicast IP address range, which you are going to use for bomb traffic in your network. So for multicast, I'm going to use 239.0.0/, let's say 25 or something like that. So after you have decided this, you go back to console here, and you can see that it says, are you going to use a large topology or a small topology? Let's say I'm going to use a large topology, so I just type Y for yes and hit enter. Then it says selecting large topology, and after that it says which APIC are you going to configure. Default is APIC 1, and you can see here it says starting, you see that this part, using symbols, it says starting APIC 1. So if you want to connect to APIC 2, you can just press Alt F2. If you want to connect to APIC 3, Alt F3. But in real world, of course, you are connected to the console port of the APIC before continuing, and the out-of-band management network, of course, is connected to the OOB network. But here, of course, we are connected to console ports, so this is what you see. So it says starting APIC. This is going to take some time, of course. Then this is going to start asking you questions. Let's wait for that. That's going to take something like a few seconds. There we go. And it starts cluster configuration. We are not going to configure cluster here, but again, we need to wait for this to start asking us some questions. And the cluster is going to be 3 different APECs, because we have chosen to have 3 APECs here. So it is going to start by asking some questions about the IP address settings that we are going to have in our fabric. So let's wait for that again. And as a matter of fact, I need to expand this a little bit. Okay, so it says what is the fabric name that you're going to have. So you can start by giving it a name, or just assume that the default name is going to be okay. So let's say that I'm going to type Alex here. Hit enter. It says what is the fabric ID. You can have multiple fabric, but fabric number 1 is okay for me. I'm not going to change it. The number of active controllers, like I said, we are going to go with 3 APECs, but in a network, if you have multiple sites, then you should consider 5 APECs. And 3 is okay, of course. Less than 3 is not acceptable for Cisco tech support. So if you have something like 2 APECs or 1 APEC, the first question they are going to ask is how many APECs do you have? And you are going to say less than 3. They are going to say, okay, we are not going to continue, or something like this. So I'm going to say, okay, 3. Is this a standby a controller? No, of course. Enter the controller ID. This is APEC 1, so 1 is going to be okay. It says 1 to 3 because we have 3 APECs in our network. Then it says a standalone APEC cluster. No, of course. Enter the pod ID. 1 is going to be okay. Enter controller name, APEC 1. I'm okay with that. And here is the pool of TAP addresses that I told you. 10.0.0/16 is okay, so I'm going to go with that. I hit enter, and it says enter the VLAN ID for infra network. You do not really need to enter any VLAN ID here. This number 4 is going to be okay. But whatever you see here, as a matter of fact, this is not going to be used in your network. APEC is going to choose something random, and it is going to use that. So it doesn't really matter whatever number you type in here. I just hit enter. And here is the address pool for multicast address for bomb traffic. So I'm going to say this is group IP outer address. You see that it says GIPO. So 225.0.0/15, that's okay. I'm going to go with that. And finally, it says, do you want to configure IPv6 or not? This is a very small management network, so no, I'm not going to configure that. Then it says, what is the IP address for management network? So I'm going to say let me do this. Okay, 192.168.200.111/24. This is the IP address that I have decided to assign to this APIC. I hit enter. It says enter the IPv4 address for default gateway. So that's going to be 192.168.1.201. I'm going to hit enter, and then it says interface speed. That's auto. It's okay. Enable strong password. No, I'm not going to go with the strong password. What I'm going to have is Cisco 123 and hit, and again Cisco 123. That is because I don't want to, think about hard passwords right now. Would you like to edit the configuration? No, of course I'm not. So I hit enter, and the configuration is finished. This is going to reboot, and when it is done, we can connect to this APIC using a browser. So let's wait for that, and I'm going to pause the video and wait for this to reboot. There we go, and we are here. Let me open a command prompt. I'm going to ping 192.168.201. This is accessible. This is the network, and 111 is the APIC, and you can see that APIC is accessible too. So let's open a browser here, and I'm going to type in the IP address 192.168.200.111. Hit enter, and that is going to open the management web page. You can see that it says because of the certificate, self-signed certificate that we have on APIC, this is giving us a potential security risk. That's okay. I'm going to click on advanced, and I'm going to say accept the risk and continue. And then this is going to take me to the main page here. So I'm going to type in admin and Cisco 123. That was my password, and I'm going to hit login, and this is going to take me inside the configuration. So here it is, how you configure Cisco APIC and how you connect to that for the first time. And from now on, I can start the configuration as I wish. So I click on this, and I click on this, and this is the overall interface.